One of the lines that is criticized about the movie is the line, "I don't like sand." Now, when you look at something like that, I understand a popular phrase that a person does not want to be is tacky. And kind of, you're not supposed to pay attention to topics that are, too detailed. There's like a word for it that's flashing over my head, but I don't see what is so much. I mean, to me, that just screams more detail than anything else, because the movie actually took time out of its day to say that it didn't like sand. Like most people, how would you assess about John Wayne whether or not he ever liked something? Because he's never stated. I mean, that's like something you would say about a person after knowing them for 6 or 7 years. And, to sum that up in a 90-minute movie, you just don't see that. Now at least you know about Anakin Skywalker that he doesn't like sand. I don't know what Han Solo likes. They never really stated that. So you guys get to venture in my world as far as my thought processing. I know, and I mean, that's the thing. I understand my thought processing is really different. That's one thing. Like, a person may think, the quickest way to something is to go straight through it, but that's not always the case. It takes, one thing I've learned is to be, unordinary. It provides a lot of character to your personality if you don't go with the typical answer on every single thing you do. But don't be facetious. That's just my strategy when I do these sorts of things. Like if I were to go to a grocery store and there was a bunch of people on my end of the lane, and I don't want to say excuse me 4 times to, get through them, I would go to the, if that was aisle 9, I would go to aisle 8, go up aisle 8, and then come back around to aisle 9 from the opposite end to get to what I wanted, instead of saying excuse me 4 times. And that's just, that's really my way of thinking, is I would prefer doing something in that matter than having to, go through and be, I can't even think of it, courteous and that sort of thing. That's really, just don't see it. But that's why when I hear something like that Anakin Skywalker line that I was telling you about, I just don't see any, kind of disillusion about the effectiveness of the line. So I understand if you think it's childish just for someone to sit there and pout and say, oh, I don't like sand, but, to actually, talking to your future wife saying this is something I don't like, that's pretty good, especially, if you look deeper into his character, he was around sand his whole life. So you think most people, he was a slave for one thing, so it's like, well, of course you're not going to like sand. You're around it your whole life. But, I mean, if you were to talk to a person in Hawaii and they tell you they don't like sand, it's more interesting than a person who says they do. It's just an extra bit.